Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you. I am your alcoholic host, Raymond. And, well, you can't really see him right now if you're listening to this, but I can see him. And this man has no need for an introduction unless you don't know him. But today I am joined with Nathan. How you doing today, Nathan?
I'm good. It's good to be here. I woke up just for you, Raymond.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you waking up. That's why I let you set the time because of the time zone issue here. But you know, we're going on three years of working together, and we've always made the time differences work one way or another.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about our modern meeting sobriety era of Zoom and our new phase of recovery, a new phase of our program is that we are truly international now, and time zoning is just part of the deal now. Trying to figure out, trying to figure out scheduling and getting people to show up and it all works, especially working together. When we're working with others that are, we're sponsoring others that are in different locations now, where, that would have been fairly impossible pre-pandemic. We just make it work. It's one of the things as alcoholics, we're pretty resilient. And for us to be able to just go with it, it's something we're all learning how to do. I don't know if any of this makes any sense at all, but I'm really excited about our ability to actually communicate over thousands of miles and find recovery.
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me. I want to say it was maybe it was last summer. It's funny you bring up international. I got asked to speak in a meeting, an online meeting that was in South Africa. And I'm like, huh? I was like, do they speak English? But, I'm just like, yeah, I guess South Africa, there's a lot of English-speaking people.
Well, there's a lot of alcoholics all over the world, man.
Yeah, I know. But it was just, I'm like, you're asking me. I'm like, okay. I was just kind of baffled by it. And it gave me a opportunity to share my story and where I was at that time and place, And I never thought I'd be doing that. And
yeah, well, I mean, back in the 90s when the internet was really kind of developing into areas that nobody had thought of before, I had done some online meetings, but they were, basically text meetings, but I was communicating with people in South Africa, now that you mention it, and during the meeting, and I just thought that was, just amazing that we were able to do that, and we've come so far now that we can see each other and we can look into each other's bedrooms and judge each other by how messy our situations are. So where do you want to go today? I think, when was I here last? It was a couple years probably, right?
You did this during my first year. This is when the podcast came out. And so that would have been almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so I'm that much further along in my recovery, and so are you. And I think at that time I was ranting about the state of the union of secular Alcoholics Anonymous and its shortcomings or my perceived shortcomings. So I'm kind of over that today, so we can talk about something else.
No, it was good because we touched base about a little bit about you and your journey, and I believe that would have been, you're going on year 36, and now you're going on year 38. It'll be 38 in June, correct?
6th, yeah, June 6th, D-Day. In fact, I brought my counter up. I got 13,770 days consecutively without a drink or any white powder up my nose, which is what I preferred to anything else.
Yeah.
Because alcohol was a great tool to keep me from dying from heart explosions. So yeah, at the end that became my main drug of choice was cocaine. But I pretty much did whatever was available. You know, I started getting loaded at about 12 or 13 years old with that dangerous gateway drug, marijuana, which just the first time I smoked weed, I just thought, I don't ever not want to feel like this. It's like very first time I got high, I was like, okay, I just want to keep doing this. What do I have to do to keep doing this? And I just pursued that journey of continually feeling different than where I was in that moment until I was 26 years old, lying on an apartment, a soon-to-be condemned apartment building, lying on the floor in a fetal position wanting to die because I just could not function anymore. Drugs and alcohol had just gotten to the point where I couldn't do anything successfully. I couldn't maintain a job successfully. I couldn't maintain a relationship successfully. I couldn't maintain a music career or anything like that successfully because I was just consumed with this pursuit of getting that high back that I got that very first time that I smoked a joint. It was like, this is where I want the rest of my life to be. And it was tragic because I wasn't going to be able to live the rest of my life like that because I was lying in a fetal position wanting to die. So it's like, I failed at that too.
Oh my goodness.
So I got to the point where I was just like pliable enough to wanting to live more than I wanted to die. You know, unable to live, but really not wanting to die, and becoming willing to reach out to anything that would change the situation that I was in. I mean, that was the MO, right? I mean, getting loaded was doing anything I could to change the situation that I was in. And now I'm in a position where I'm willing to do anything to change the position I'm in. And I found some help and somehow got into Alcoholics Anonymous. I came in through Cocaine Anonymous because I was way too young and too cool to come into Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I just thought I was crazy, and I did too much coke. But you stick around in Alcoholics Anonymous long enough, you catch alcoholism, and that's what happened to me. I caught alcoholism, and I realized that it was going to have to be a life of total abstinence, not maintenance. You know, I thought early on that I was going to come to AA or Cocaine Anonymous, and you guys were going to show me how well you guys were doing at maintaining it and not, you know, being out of control. And I discovered that you guys were not getting loaded at all, not even on holidays or weekends or, you know, birthdays or New Year's or any celebrations. You guys weren't getting loaded, and somehow still enjoying it, which was unfathomable to me. I had no idea how can you enjoy a social situation where you've got to be with other people and not be loaded and have a good time. I had no idea how to do that. I had never done it, you know, since I was 12, 13 years old, any situation where I was celebrating anything, I was loaded. So I had no idea how I was going to face life without it. But, you get desperate enough to where you're willing to give everything up, drugs and alcohol wise, and become willing to follow some suggestions from other people that have been successfully living their life without it, and you transform and grow up. I mean, I literally grew up. I was only 26, and mentally I was, a child. I grew up in Alcoholics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous, by watching other grown-ups teach me how to do it.
Is that where I got that reference from?
I'm not hearing you.
You're not hearing me?
You're muted. That's why I'm not.
Oh, my goodness. I said, oh, my goodness, what a great start today. Well, that's a good thing. No, that reference, I use that reference a lot when I talk with others about mental maturity and stuff like that. And
well, I was definitely not mental. I mean, who knows where I'm at today, right? I mean, I think I'm better, but I guess I started getting loaded so young, self-medicating the perceived trauma, which was definitely not as huge as I thought it was. But medicating that trauma at such an early age, I just stopped maturing, really. I was, I went from 13 to 26. I became old enough to do things that you can't do before you're 18 or before you're, 21. But my approach to all of it was just mentally immature. Relationships that I had with I was with a girl from the time that I was 17 till 25, and she finally left before I got sober, which I'm glad that she did, to save her own life. Not physically, but just the kind of, just living with an infant who's supposed to be an adult is, traumatizing. And the things that I was up doing, and where my attitude was on just the sheer selfishness and self-centered nature, just like a baby, doing what I wanted without any regards to how it would affect anybody else. And it affected other people. My behavior affected other people, and it never crossed my mind. That's not true. It crossed my mind, and I had some feelings about it, but I didn't care. I didn't care enough to make any changes because I was pursuing that feeling, that feeling of this is the life that this is the life that I want. This is the feeling that I want, and I don't ever want this to change, and I'll do whatever it takes to maintain this. And it didn't matter what kind and loving people were in my life. I was still going to do what I was going to do until I couldn't do it anymore.
That resonates with so much anymore because it's like the farther I go down this path and look at things and analyze things is I always want more of something. I always want an instant gratification. And, luckily, I keep doing this and I've learned how to I'm able to recognize when something's consume like sugars. I've been sugar free since the beginning of the year. It's like I take sugar and I can relate almost everything to this. It's just that instant gratification and wanting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think neither one of us would be here if we didn't have that inherent. I don't know if, they call it the allergy. The allergy of alcoholism, or shit affects us differently than it does other people. When we put something in our body and we get that instant gratification, we're just like, that's like, it's the ultimate rush, and we just spend the rest of our life pursuing that initial feeling. And we can do that in sobriety as well, right? I mean, it's like you could substitute, anything that feels good and just want more and more and more of that. But, I think it's all about self-medicating ultimately in the end. It's just that, we've got this underlying malaise, this underlying, I don't want to say deficiency, but we just have this underlying concept of life and not wanting to be like where we are, wanting to be someplace else, wanting to be somebody else, not ever being satisfied with the way things actually are, and try to do something to improve whatever situation you're in over time rather than instantly, I've listened to people talk about, or self-medicating the pain and whatever pain that form is in. And in sobriety, if we don't deal with the reasons that we medicated in the first place, when we just get sober and we go to meetings, that pain is still there. And, we have that underlying feeling like there's a shoe, the other shoe's about to drop. That's why it's really important. I was really lucky because I was so desperate when I got here that I was willing to do work steps, to do whatever. Whatever somebody was telling me I needed to do, I was willing to do that because I was just so broken. But there's people that come in today to the rooms that are broken, but they still have a lot of fight left in them and become unwilling to do some of the things that will really benefit the next phase of their life. And so they stop drinking, they stop using, and they think that meetings and the fellowship are the recovery. But they don't do anything else. For no self-searching, no leveling of pride at all to really start making some personality changes that are really needed for us to change and to grow. And then they get frustrated and they get bored with meetings, and they focus on the personalities of the group, and they focus on words within the group, or the way one thing is written versus something else, and they want to get into debates, and that's all well and good if you have, if you want to take inventory of something else, make sure you take yours first. And not most, but a good portion of what I see today is that, people are coming in with fairly high bottoms, and they don't do the work. They don't adopt a different way of doing things, and they get frustrated. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't stick around long enough to get past that point of unwillingness. And it's unfortunate, but I know you do your part and I do my part to try to at least share some of the benefit of our own experience, to be able to keep somebody in the room long enough to be able to want to make that change.
Yeah, I try to do the best I can and do my part, because I don't want to lose what I've worked on myself and hurt people like I did in the past. You said people coming at a high bottom, and I thought like my whole world was over when I first came in the room. Then I start listening to some other people that share their stories, and it's just like, holy shit. And if they can do it, I can do it. and I just don't see the how people are unwilling not to do work to better themselves and have that peace of mind. And I mean, I was a hard headed motherfucker for the longest time, and I didn't want to. I never wanted to listen to anyone. You know, I talked to my best friend like a month ago, and he goes, well, I wasn't. I knew there was something wrong with you, and you were looking bad, and I was worried about you, but I knew you weren't going to listen to me. And it's, you know, I listened to someone, and
well, you know,
I don't.
It baffles me a little bit because not your story, because you know you've reaped the benefits of your own willingness to change and to face to do some discovery and exposure. I don't understand people that come to Alcoholics Anonymous or Cocaine Anonymous or any other 6 or 12-step program and not do it, not want to do it. It's because that's our whole purpose. Our whole purpose here is to have a program which is a way of life, right? It's a way of doing some behavior modifications through self-investigation, and a process of attempting to clear up some of the wreckage of our own stuff. Some of it's minor, some of it's financial. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's the effort that we do to acknowledge our own responsibility and make those changes, right? I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here, we come in the rooms, we want to learn how to do things differently, and we're given a program of action to show us how to do things differently. But I just want to be here and listen. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't get that. Like going to the gym and watching people work out is going to be all I need to feel better.
Oh, I'm glad. I had to stay in my own lane on that. It's funny you say that because, like, the other day, I'm like in there and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna. I like turn and I just watch someone just sitting there watching TikTok videos, and I'm like, when are they gonna get off this fucking piece of machinery so I can use the fucking thing? And I'm like, I'm not gonna start anything. I could find something else to do because it's not gonna do. You know, whatever I say is it's whatever because I could just move on. But it's just funny you bring that up, and I'm just like. Then I thought about it. Then I go to leave the gym that day, and there's this guy. He's like super running on this treadmill. And I go, "Hey man, can you run an extra mile for me today? Because I'm just not feeling it." And my wife goes, "What'd you say to that guy?" Because he was laughing. But you know, I went in there and did the work, and you know, I'm watching other people sit there holding up machinery, watching TikTok videos.
Yeah. You know, it's, you know, we've started out this conversation talking about how we're able to reach, you know, across thousands of miles to each other and gather in places together where, you know, we would not normally ever have an opportunity to be with each other. And I go to some online meetings where there's hundreds of people in the room, right? And the majority of them are just watching. The majority of them never raise their hand. They never participate. They're just getting it through, you know, watching other people work out. And I'm not sure what they're getting. Maybe I don't know. It wouldn't work for me. But I wonder, you know, it's like, why spend the time going to Alcoholics Anonymous if you're not going to participate? Why show up at all? You know, if you're not drinking, if you're not using, and it's, you know, that is enough to keep you from doing it, cool. You know, that was not my experience. There was no way that I was going to be able to change and permanently stop getting loaded if I didn't do what everybody else was doing, regardless of how I thought it seemed, culty or ridiculous, or because there was a lot of things that I was asked to do by my sponsor that I didn't understand. It's like, why do I need to do that? It just didn't make any sense. It's like that doesn't, it didn't make any sense from a newcomer's perspective, right? But from somebody that had done it and gone through it and had the experience of it, it made perfect sense to him. So he would just always respond to me, the doing brings the understanding. Stop asking the questions about, what you're going to get out of it and why you got to do it and what am I supposed to be learning from this and whatnot. And you'll know when you do it. You'll get those answers by doing the work and stop, arguing. It's like you signed up for this thing, dude. You asked me to sponsor you. So, there's a responsibility on my end that I got to follow through with. So, and he was right every single time. Once I did it, it's like, oh, now I understand why he asked me to do it in the first place. So eventually I stopped putting up so much of a fight and just followed directions because, I learned to trust that he knew a little bit more about recovery than I did. And and it worked out okay.
I remember a conversation like that.
Yeah. It's like,
no, what's your part in it? It's not my part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know how well that goes. But yeah, it's no. I was holding on to that thing where you talk about people sitting and watching. Maybe it does work for them. I've had a couple people that perused and they're holding long term. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why I continue to do this because it interests me because we don't get to hear everything, and there's people that do come out of the shadows and share what they're doing. But I don't know. I want to keep coming back to something that I'm not participating in though because I'd be bored.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, especially when you go to meetings where it's the same. You only hear from the same 15 people every time you go. So it's like, if I want that to be different, I better raise my hand.
Yeah.
Better participate or get involved somehow. So, I mean, I do a lot of different service work. And I've changed, in the last 4 years. My level of participation hasn't stopped, but what I do is changed, right? Because I started a meeting and then it branched out into multiple meetings, and it turned into an opportunity to give other people a lot of service. Because when I started the meeting, it was like I was doing everything, right? I was setting up the meeting, running the slides, doing the muting, just running everything by myself. And I thought, well, that's kind of not really the spirit of this program. So, once I relinquished, absolute cult authority, the meeting actually blossomed and grew, and it runs itself now. I'm more of a, I just show up now and watch other people's sobriety grow and blossom, and watching other people learn how to survive Alcoholics Anonymous and all of what that entails.
How hard was that?
What's that?
How hard was that?
To survive Alcoholics Anonymous?
No, to start something and give control.
At first it was, it's a learning experience, right? Because you've got this idea of the way of what you want to bring to recovery. Because what I started was a little different, right? It wasn't just another meeting. It was a different concept of the program, using a 6-step program rather than a 12-step program. Taking all of the God stuff out of the steps and focusing on the action, and the recovery being, one alcoholic talking with another alcoholic, working together, sponsor-sponsee type relationships where it's the power of two, which is the higher power, rather than some deity, right? Our power is in our numbers, and those numbers can be two. Well, two alcoholics together are much stronger than one alone, and working a step program that was based on what we've been talking about, doing the action, not watching, not participating, but doing some discovery and exposure and restitution, and then helping somebody else, right? The actions of our program, basing it around that, or just making sure that the main focus was on the actual action and not just group therapy, was a little bit different. And then to get pretty good response to that idea and structure, because people kept coming back and showing up, and then wanting to participate and take on commitments. So to answer the question, yeah, I was a little apprehensive, because I don't want that main concept of what we are about to get watered down by everybody else's experiences in other meetings, and just thinking that that program is just this way, where we just have a group and people get together and some share and some don't and whatnot, which it is. But I want to be able to maintain that idea that we are focused on action, not just communication, but actual action. And then just also realizing that we are more powerful together than we are alone. So doing it myself is not the right way to do it. I've got to let it go, right? I've got to let it go and be part of, rather than, an overseer. It was enough for me to get it started, but now it's everybody else's responsibility to maintain it. And hopefully it'll stay, with that idea. But we do have an idea of group conscious decisions in Alcoholics Anonymous, which means mobs rule. So I'm not, sometimes the mob is misled in ways that could be more directed, and at that point, all we can do is be a voice of redirection. But it was a good opportunity for me to at least try to vocalize my own dissatisfaction with the many years that I spent in Alcoholics Anonymous, or Orthodox Alcoholics Anonymous, and the religious aspects of it, and the religious focus that I didn't feel was as important as the action of the program itself.
Now, with that, I always reflect back to, you were desperate. You're an atheist and you did the 12 steps. Why change it to a 6-step program if you're desperate enough to do?
That's a great question, and it's pretty simple. Those 12 steps were not working in my reality in long-term sobriety. Early on, like I said, I was willing to do whatever. I wasn't going to question whether there was 12 or 6 or anything like that, because my way didn't work anymore. And I was miserable and unhappy, and I wanted life. I wanted something. I didn't know what I wanted. I know what I didn't want. And what I had was what I didn't want. I didn't know what I wanted. It's like I had really no idea. I had an idea, but, so I was desperate enough to do that. But, I've maintained sobriety for a long time, and I had worked with many other guys and took them through the 12 steps the way that I was taken through them. But as an atheist, I was like, I'm just going through lip service on some of this stuff because I don't believe this, prayer and, this God will remove your defects it's just none of that stuff was a reality for me. And I was just feeling like a hypocrite, in Alcoholics Anonymous, that, I'm part of this deal, but I don't believe half of it. Right. And I just said, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I know what works. I've worked with enough guys to know that if you want to believe in God, and that's not going to hinder your sobriety. But if you don't believe in God and you're forced to take on a concept of something you don't believe in, that will definitely affect your sobriety. So I just said, I'm going to try something different. Let's see if this works. Because there's nothing magical about the number 12, even though, the A is built around this magic number. It's like, it's just a number.
Yeah, because, it's like I did those 6 steps, and I hear you say that, and in the past, I'd feel guilty about it. Like, did I cheat or something? Did I cheat because I only did 6 steps and Nathan did 12?
You got 50% of the program.
But no, I started thinking about it. Is I was desperate enough to listen to you, and now I'm kind of sitting here thinking, and it's just like, well, maybe some of these people that aren't willing to listen, they haven't had their desperation to listen to someone else and actually do the work and work on themselves. Maybe
I think desperation is the key for all of us, for any sobriety, and especially for long-term sobriety. Because if I wasn't absolutely done when I got here, if I wasn't desperate and done, I would have thought I could probably figure out another plan. And that's the key, It's like that willingness to do anything other than what's going on in my own head right now. And we've talked about this before, where, a lot of secular sobriety, you hear this, take what you want and leave the rest. And I guess I did that, right, with the 6 steps. I took what I wanted and I left the rest. But I did it with a lot of decades of sobriety and experience. When I hear newcomers talking about take what you want and leave the rest, I think about myself being a newcomer and having absolutely no idea what was good for me or what was bad for me. So how am I going to take, anything that I took would have been something that would for sure not benefit me. It would be the easier, softer way, and whatever felt good, I would do that. And if I didn't like it, I would leave that, And I don't think that is desperation. I don't think that is enough willingness to actually make a change. Got to let that. I was, like I said, I was lucky enough to be beaten down to the point where I just wasn't willing to fight anymore. I was done. It was 13. It only took 13 years, but 13 years was a hell of enough time to beat me into a fetal position, wanting to die.
So some figured out quicker than others, and people longer than others. I mean, it's.
It takes what it takes, man. We get,
right.
They say we stop, our bottom is where we stop digging. And I believe that. I mean, I don't think that you have to be, as broken as I was to become willing to do whatever it takes. you just got to be sick and tired enough of your own bullshit to be able to desire something different and be willing to do something different.
Yeah. Now I'll get back to the point of you're talking about, you mentioned surviving Alcoholics Anonymous, and you do, and I know you do. I mean, you're, it seems like, I wonder when you sleep. You continuously do service work and stay involved with the program. But you talk about surviving Alcoholics Anonymous. Is it survival for you still, or is it?
Well, yeah. There's a difference between the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. They're intertwined but completely different. And you have to know how to do both. That's why it's so important to work the action steps of your program to where you are making a change mentally. Because if all you're doing is fellowship, that room is full of people that would normally not mix. And there's strong personalities and not so strong personalities. And if you're a kind of person like I am that is easily set off by other personalities, if you don't learn how to deal with that in AA, you won't survive it. Too many people leave Alcoholics Anonymous because they don't like other people in Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's like, there are other people here. And I don't, there's a lot of people that I would not hang out with given an opportunity. But I have. I mean, I've met a lot of people face to face from Zoom that I would have never met or known about if it wasn't for this resource that we have. This last Southern California convention that we had a lot of people from Reason and Recovery flew out to be at this convention just to hang out and have some fellowship and meet each other face to face, and it was really awesome. It was really awesome. So there's a beauty in the fellowship, but there's also this, it's like there's politics, there's attitudes, there's opinions, there's everything that is in the outside world inside Alcoholics Anonymous, and surviving Alcoholics Anonymous is key. I mean, you can look at like the difference between secular Alcoholics Anonymous and traditional Orthodox Alcoholics Anonymous, right? There's a lot more religious-centric focus in traditional AA. And for somebody like me, surviving AA meant living in that environment, being different and not having that concept of a deity at all, and then listening to people talk about these experiences that they had that would just aggravate me, be like, what the fuck is wrong with you, you delusional fuck. But that's my thing, not their thing. And I didn't have I didn't have a secular escape route. So, surviving AA, a lot of surviving AA was just that, just being able to maintain sobriety, be part of a fellowship that I was kind of an outsider in, I had to survive that. But then there's this other part where it's just everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a different way of doing things. And some things just are going to frustrate you, and they're going they're going to push your buttons, or somebody's going to say something in a meeting that you don't like and you disagree with, or it sounds racist or misogynistic, or there's you're going to hear a lot of shit in meetings, and you can either say, well, fuck this place, they're going to let somebody like that in here, I'm not going to stick around, or learn how to just realize that's just one voice in the group, and just remember its principles before personalities, and survive. Survival is about learning how to deal with all of the personalities in Alcoholics Anonymous, because we can't, I can't not do this alone. I don't really have a choice. So I have to survive AA. I have to survive the fact that there are other people in the world that I don't agree with, and I don't like what they're saying, and I don't like the way they share, and I don't like, their emphasis on certain things. But unfortunately, it's probably because I see something in them that reminds me of me, and it just irritates the fuck out of me. So, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes they're just assholes. It's just, sometimes they're just assholes. But I don't let that drive me out of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't let any of that stuff push me out, because this is my seat, and I earned it. I've worked hard to maintain my path, and I know that the whole deal is much bigger than me alone, and whatever my little perception in the moment is. Because right now, if you asked me about any particular thing that has pissed me off in the past at AA, I couldn't tell you, because I let it go. So I don't think about it. I don't carry it around. But in the moment, it's like, here's another moment to survive AA. And then you got the politics, right? You get on committees, and you deal with other people that like to be on committees, which are usually the ones that are a little bit more active. Our egos are a little bit larger than the average bear. And then you just have to learn how to deal, without taking your ball and going home. You got to learn how to play the game,
Yeah.
and realize, ultimately it's like, dude, you're only here because you're sober. It's like all of this shit that you're complaining about, you were not complaining about when you were lying in a fucking fetal position in your broke ass apartment building. This is not shit that was on your mind, So you got to I always have to temper it with a realization that I get to do all of this shit that irritates me. Not that I have to.
Yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow, because that's a pill I've learned to take without breaking down and drinking copious amounts of water to get that pill down, because that was part of my bullshit. I've learned how to, because I can't be doing everything Ray wants all the time. I should be happy that I get asked. I mean, I've shared about it several times, and I get to do this. Because if I was out getting loaded and whatever, I want to be doing this. I want to be spending the time and making new memories, and even if I feel irritated at that moment, because that moment's going to pass, and I'm sure I could find something in that moment I get to do right there and then. Does that make sense?
That's something that, that perception is called recovery.
I thought you were getting ready to say progress, but I'll take recovery.
That is recovery. When we can actually see the size of ourselves in its true perspective in the world as we relate to it, that's recovery. I always thought that I was smarter, better looking, more talented, you name it, than anybody else. which was not the reality. But that's the reality I lived. And because I lived in that reality, I was constantly at odds with somebody. You know, there was chaos. There was, you know, it just produced a lot of chaos. Just having that unrealistic attitude of my place in the universe. And then we get to AA, we realize we're just lucky to be sitting here. You know, it's like all of this chaos is just self-driven, and I don't have to be part of any of that. I can just step back and realize I've got it better today than I've ever had it ever. You know?
Oh, definitely.
I don't worry about, you know, nobody's worrying about what I'm doing today. You know, am I okay because I'm doing something self-destructive, or, you know, pushing the edge, thinking that, you know, I was a daredevil or something, you know. Nobody's worried. You know, they're more worried about me not doing something like go exercise or go, you know, it's like, go do something healthy for yourself rather than sit around all day, you know.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work, you know, from a sitting position here in front of a computer, whether it's in recovery or whether it's in career or music, and I don't make enough time to get outside and actually move my body around. But that's, you know, that's if somebody is worried about what I'm doing, that's it. Is that I'm just not doing enough to be physical, which I think is a plus.
Hey, as long as you're not drugging or boozing, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, you know, they're not worried that I'm driving 100 miles an hour to get to a dealer. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
Kind of want to circle back around to like how we talk about the politics and this, that, and another. You know, yeah, because we talk in the secular circles and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't have a problem with going the traditional ones now. And I don't have a problem with someone saying "God bless you" to me now without me going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fuck you. It's not like that anymore. At the beginning, it was, and that was one of the things I had to work through and get past, and it's something I had to work on with myself. But you know,
that's just more recovery, man.
Yeah.
We all go through that. We all go through that. Especially, I mean, it's hard enough just getting sober, right, within a program, but then, you know, to try to do it secularly. And I mean, if you're like me, you know, I spent so many years just sucking it up until I found Secular Alcoholics Anonymous, where I could let all of that out. I was really vocal when I first came in about, you know, just all of the resentments that I had at just the religious aspects of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today, it's like, I got all that out. I'm done bitching about it, and I'm just in the solution.
So do you think the big book needs rewritten?
I think I've done it enough. I think there's enough alternatives out there that, you know, it's like, I mean, look, you can't argue with something that's been around as long as Alcoholics Anonymous has worked for millions of alcoholics and multi-millions of their relatives and families that have benefited from the recovery of that book and whatnot. So, you know, arguing against success is just stupid. I find that I'm able to navigate my sobriety in a secular way, utilizing the ideas and the concepts that are in that book, and just not taking it to the level of invisible controllers of the universe. So the big book's got a lot of good stuff in it. it's also really old and dated. So rather than, an all-out effort to rewrite that particular book, which is probably fine too, I think enough people have done that work.
Yeah, I believe there's a book where someone went through, crossed all the God higher power stuff out and just republished it that way. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I just hear things. I hear things because I'm around people and things that are said, and I'm just like, what's it matter?
Yeah, that's the thing. You get to a point where you get to pick your own what's important and what are you gonna make a stand on, and I chose to take 6 of the steps out generally and not use them because I didn't think that they were beneficial to recovery if you don't have a concept of a deity. And I didn't have to rewrite the book to do that. I just eliminated some of the ideas in the way that I communicate the concepts in that book. Ultimately, it's still one alcoholic talking to another alcoholic. It says that in the foreword to the 3rd edition that everyday recovery begins when one alcoholic talks to another alcoholic. The beginning of recovery is 2 people getting together, sharing experience, strength, and hope with each other. And the experience is the experience of working a program of Alcoholics Anonymous and changing your attitudes and perceptions. And strength is working together. And the hope is that you'll find the same benefit and change that I found, right? Everything else is just somebody trying to give the benefit of their experience. That book was laid out for, they put down their experience in order to try to help somebody else. Utilizing the tools that they had at the time, utilizing the concepts that they had at the time, their personal experience. So we all have our own personal experience. Go write your own book.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I mean,
I'm too lazy to do that.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about, expanding on the understanding of the 6 steps, but it's like, it's kind of already, it's in the book, right? But I do want to be helpful, I want to be able to at least provide some service. And if that'll be beneficial to somebody, it's probably a good idea. I just don't like the idea of that somehow it's original, that, the 6 steps are something new. They're not. They're just the 12 steps without God.
Yeah, I know. I know what it is. A lot of people don't, but a lot of people don't grasp that. And it's just, there's a period, I believe it was last summer, I was going through and reading some of the stories out of the big book. And, I didn't want to do that in the first place when I first came into recovery, but, it's like you said, it's recovery. And it's like, holy shit. And it's just like a lot of the stuff, it's eye-opening because it's people, there's the stories in there, and it's just how much is so relatable, and the thoughts and processes, and the key thing is it's another person getting with another person. And that's my big proponent. And it's just, I kind of answered my own question today when I'm sitting here thinking, you get the people that go to regular AA and they're atheist, agnostic, or whatever. Then they come to the secular AA, but then they're bitching about the they're bitching about regular AA. So what about the people that come to secular AA and went to regular AA and they want to bitch about secular AA? Where the fuck do they go? Go talk to another alcoholic. I think that's the answer. Get with another alcoholic and just start working with another alcoholic. I mean,
well, that's our best defense, right? Before you bring it to the group, man, go talk to somebody that, go bring it to your sponsor. That happens a lot too in meetings where people want to use it as a platform to dump that stuff, right? And I guess that's okay, but to me, it's a lot. It's a lot like group therapy. And when you have a good sponsor relationship with somebody that has more experience than you do and has overcome a lot of those ideas and feelings that you're going through right now and is able to maybe help you change your perspective and your perception of what you feel is a slight or a frustration or how other people aren't doing it right. Then you can bring your ideas or your feelings to the group in a way that has been vetted, as opposed to just wanting to feel better in the moment and dumping it on a group of people that have to sit with whatever it is that you're going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something that's been looming in my head today. That and a couple other things. I find it's funny.
I'm sure you've noticed, though, it's tapered down a lot. We don't see a whole lot of people coming into Secular Alcoholics Anonymous, and with all of their frustrations, venting all their frustrations. Zoom is doing or their frustrations with traditional Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't hear a lot of that talk anymore. In the beginning, when we first started, it was kind of the focus of secular AA was how shitty traditional AA was, and I guess we all needed to get that out, know. But once we get past that, we have to be like, okay, so now what? All right, we got that out. Now we're in secular. What are we going to do? What are we going to bitch about now? And it's like, okay, let's work some steps.
Yeah.
Let's get into recovery here. Let's talk about what am I doing today that is different and improved from yesterday? What am I doing today? What did I learn? And how am I applying that to my life today so that, I can benefit myself and others and be able to pass that experience on to somebody that doesn't have that experience yet. We got so many opportunities for a full and a satisfying existence based on not being so damn selfish. And, it's like it says in the book, none of us make a vocation out of this, right? Nobody worth their salt gets paid for talking about recovery. We do this for fun and for free because, it saves our own ass because we remind ourselves where we came from and we give ourselves some remembrance that we're not where we used to be. Every time we talk with somebody else, we're like, God damn, I think about where I was and before recovery and in recovery and all of the changes that I've made in the way that I look at life in recovery. And I'm just glad to have not a platform, but a way to maybe help somebody else not have to live the life that, they came in with. And to keep it really simple, keep this thing really, really simple. It's, sobriety is is not that difficult to maintain as long as you're staying out of the emotional shit that goes on in our head, the stuff that we self-medicated about, right? The unresolved stuff that is still here if you don't deal with it. You know, I hear people talk about how hard it is to stay sober. I'm like,
yeah, I laugh because I'm sitting here. The one thing you used to share is, you don't know what it's like, man. You don't know what it's like.
I've heard that a million times. You don't understand. Yeah. Unfortunately, we do understand, and fortunately, we understand. We understand it all. That's why we're here together. Our motto is "Me too." I get it. Whatever it is you're going through, that perception that you're going through, I've been there. And the perception is not necessarily the reality. And the best thing we can do to help somebody else is have that clarity and just say, here's the reality and here's where you're at. And can you see where the difference is? And are you willing to look at it not being as black and white as you think it is? You might have a part in this resentment that you have right now at whatever it is, that you might be part of the problem by the way that we what we base our reactions on, and hopefully we get to change that basis of our reaction. Things that used to piss me off do not piss me off anymore because it's just not as important as I thought it was. Because I've changed my perspective. Still things that piss me off, but usually not for very long. I don't sit with that anger and seething anger and planning retaliation and all of the stuff that I used to do. Right, just like, I'm going to get this guy. I don't know how. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, that was the longer part of the recovery. You go from not going from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fuck it button. That was the main. That was the first part. But now it's like I'm not sitting and seething and, well, they didn't do their job right, or this, that, and another, or she did this, and like little arguments with the wife now, and it's just like, why am I letting this bug me? Apparently, I did something to piss her off, so let's figure out what I did and work on that. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it's constantly picking that stuff apart anymore is just like a daily thing. So so I'm not going back to that guy that's seething and steaming and going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fuck it. And
right. Yeah. Well, look, it's all part of the process of recovery, right? We don't lose all of that instantaneously just because we got sober and even have worked the steps. It's a gradual experiential understanding of trial and error, along with some willingness to listen to other people's experiences on those things, to where we gradually change the way that we approach and the way that we, it's like the events don't change, the things, those triggers don't change. It's what are we doing with those? Why is it pissing me off? What about that is so egregious that I want to chop somebody's head off? It's like, is it really that bad? And that's the recovery, is just like, okay, that's just, that level of reaction is just not normal. Let's get let's get to a level of reaction that actually makes sense and maybe is productive, and maybe, like you said, the wife's pissed off at me. Let me find out what the hell that's about, rather than just wife's pissed off at me. I'm gonna be pissed off at the wife, and leave it at that. Those are little things that drop by drop build an ocean of recovery, build an ocean of a contented life where there's more laughter than there is sorrow. That's the thing about my life in recovery. It's been full of laughter. We can laugh at each other. We can laugh at our own stupid shit, stuff that I would have been not only terrified, but so embarrassed to be laughed at for something that I did. Now it's not like that. I just laugh along because I just don't take myself that seriously, to where if I make a stupid mistake and somebody points it out, that I want to, that I want to kill them. I'm just, I can see the humor in it and realize my own fallibility and laugh at how ridiculous, I can be. And I'll take that. I'll take that as a sign of recovery. that for whatever it's worth, I can learn to laugh at myself and be okay with it. I mean, it's not that I don't respond to other people's criticism. I just don't respond the same way to other people's criticism that I used to.
Yeah. You word this so well. I'm getting better at wording things. Sometimes I'm not. It's just the more time I get, the better I get at it. And that's the other thing too, is like when I first came in here and started working with you, I'm just like, man, this guy's a guru. Then it starts making sense the more I do this and talking with other people and listening, and it's just like, man, I've heard this. And then sometimes I forget where I hear things, and I'll hear you, and I'm like, oh, Nathan said that, or so and so said this, and now I see why they say that. I got stopped by a train today, and I'm just like, I watched someone just like whip around a U-turn in such a hurry about causing an accident. I'm like, man, I used to get real irritated about that, but why am I going to get upset because there's a train? I know there's a train going that way. If I wanted to avoid it, I could have went another way and took a longer way to get there. But why am I going to sit here and get upset and then whip around? And I was like, man, they need to work on themselves. They need to work on their patience. And I'm like, why am I thinking like this?
Yeah, it's like we're given these opportunities to demonstrate to ourselves that we have changed. I was in the other day, I had taken my wife to the flyway to go to the airport, and for some reason, all of the street lights in that part of the valley were off in rush hour, morning rush hour. So, if you can just imagine what that looks like, where there's no street lights in the middle of the city when everybody's trying to get to work, and how insane that started to become, and I just made a conscious decision to just be like, this is going to take however long it takes, and I'm going to, just be in it, rather than what street can I go down? How can I make it so, how can I MacGyver this situation, It's like, because I have to be home 5 minutes early, or 5 minutes earlier than I'm going to get there, Those are opportunities. We don't always, I don't always see them, but sometimes I do, and I saw that was an opportunity for me to do something just a little different. Today, I'm just going to be present, and this is where I'm at, and this is going to take what it takes. And I got home. When I got home, it was like, that's what it took. and nobody died, and the world didn't fall apart because I wasn't sitting here in my little chair in the right moment that I thought I should be sitting here, and the world went on anyways. I think that's recovery.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
It's trying to get to a place where it's okay to just be okay.
I mean, it's like you told me that the definition of sobriety is what? Oh my goodness!
Soundness of mind.
Soundness of mind.
Soundness of mind. Yep.
Soundness of mind.
Yep. Not being that crazy idiot that I can be. I can do that very well. You know,
I need to write that down.
Rage is a talent. I can rage with the best of them, and at some point, it's not just. It's choice, right? It's having the mind sound enough to be able to make a choice to choose a different path. I was not able to do that, even in recovery. For a while, I was not able to make the right choice. But eventually, I was able to make that choice where rage was not going to benefit me. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, I can kind of picture that, especially being like, you came in at an younger age than others. I could only imagine me trying to control that in like my early 20s. I'd holy shit.
Yeah.
So maybe the timing was just right for it. I like I said, I don't try to pick apart and change anything, because where I'm at today is where I need to be, and I I got my girls, I got my wife, and I'm good.
Nobody is done until they're done.
Right.
And I just happened to get done at 26. I was done. Some people are not done yet. But I don't think that anybody gains long-term sobriety. And what I mean by long-term sobriety is like, more than 5 years consecutive years if you're not done, Why? If you don't believe that you're finished, well, sobriety's got to be miserable, because you've always got this lurking idea that maybe I can do it differently, Maybe I can control it and enjoy it now that I'm older and smarter.
I can never drink again in the rest of my life.
Our comeback is you only have to do it today, but the idea is we're here for lifetime sobriety.
Right.
It's like I don't want to feel like I have to just think about it one day at a time, that I'm only just not drinking today, and that's good enough. That's not what I came here for. I came here for a different life to the end. Not just for today. I want to be able to live a life that alcohol is not on my mind. Doing drugs is not on my mind. Believe me, I love doing psychedelics. There's a lot of stuff that I really liked. I'm just convinced that there's nothing in it for me anymore except pain and insanity, and psychosis. I was a mess. And regardless of how long I've been around, I don't think I've got a better handle on it today than I would have when I was 26. I'm here. I'm about staying sober till I die. That, so far I've survived a lot of emotional things that we go through in life without having to medicate it. Our medication becomes the power of two. We turn to each other rather than turning to something. Some people turn to God. Some people turn to alcohol and drugs, something outside ourselves to make us feel better. And for us, the only thing outside ourselves that really works in a way that is tangible is one alcoholic just sharing with another alcoholic and sharing the pain, sharing the burden, it's like when people lose loved ones and go through, tragedies and things like that. Those were always opportunities for us to escape and to get loaded. And we have just make that decision today that's not an option. So what the fuck am I going to do? And it's always to turn to another alcoholic who understands how difficult it must be in that moment not to want to self-medicate. And what can I do to help?
Powerful stuff, man. We're coming up on an hour and a half.
Oh, really? All right. Well, fuck it. Let's get out of here.
Not that I love sitting here listening to you.
It went by fast, man.
Yeah, it does. It does. I just looked over and I'm like, oh gosh, we're we've got a committee meeting tonight that I need to do some prep for. And what time is that?
Here it's 12:30.
No, the committee.
Oh,
meeting.
Tonight it's at 4 p.m. 4 o'clock Pacific.
Well, before I get on all that, oh, Nathan, thanks for being on the show today. You've been a big inspiration and guidance to me. Really do appreciate you coming back on here, man. This is a totally different conversation than what it was the last time.
And hopefully the next one will be different too. It just shows that we are moving forward and not staying in the same, same puddle of whatever the shit we're standing in at the moment. We moved on to a different puddle. I just, you can see my screen where it says, if this guy got sober, you can too. And really that's the message here. I mean, if I could do it, you can do it. And you can maintain long-term sobriety and be an atheist or not be an atheist. You just have to be willing to do some things that you may not want to do, but if you're desperate enough to not want what you have today, then you can do it too. I did it, and I'm still here. And I'm, pretty damn content with life being the way it is. I'm
learning how to be more content. It's a work in progress.
It's okay, man. We'll give you the halo comes after like 5 years or so.
Well, mine will have to rest. It might be a little crooked.
Okay. Whatever color you want to paint your halo, it's fine with me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks again, brother.
All right, buddy. Good to be here. Thanks for asking.